There's a silent epidemic running through our lives. You won't hear it on the news. There's no vaccine for it, no global summit to fix it. It won't make your phone buzz with alerts or crash the stock market, but it ruins lives, quietly, invisibly, every single day. It's not a new virus or a natural disaster, it's overthinking. In a world of endless options, infinite information, and non-stop notifications, the ability to sit still, choose clearly, and move forward confidently has become rare. We are taught to dream big, aim higher, chase more, but no one teaches us how to stop, how to be still, how to say, "This is enough." That's where it all begins, and that's what Mark Manson calls disease of more. You see, most of us aren't suffering because we don't have enough. We suffer because we think we should have more success, more followers, more money, more freedom, more choices, more time, more knowledge, more perfection. But here's the kicker: more doesn't satisfy. It confuses, it exhausts, and worst of all, it paralyzes. We're not stuck because we don't know what to do. We're stuck because we're thinking too much about what else we could do. We lie awake at night, drowning in what-ifs. We hold back from starting because we're unsure which path is perfect. We scroll endlessly, read endlessly, plan endlessly, but move rarely. We wait for the right time, the right idea, the right sign. But the truth is brutal. There is no right time. There is no perfect idea. And the only sign that matters is the one you make when you act. Mark Manson said it best: overthinking is a prison. And it is. It's a cage made of your own intelligence. Your ability to see every possibility becomes your downfall. You see 10 steps ahead and forget to take the first one. You want to win the war without ever entering the battlefield. You want to be sure, absolutely sure, before you risk anything. And so, you stay locked in your head while life passes by. You replay conversations in your head from months ago. You obsess over emails you sent. You agonize over decisions that didn't go your way. And all of it feels important, like maybe if you just think hard enough, you'll figure it all out. But thinking doesn't change your life. Doing does. In fact, overthinking is often a disguise, a mask for fear, for insecurity, for avoidance. We tell ourselves we're being responsible, that we're researching, that we're just waiting for more clarity. But underneath, we're just afraid of being wrong, afraid of failing, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of choosing something we can't undo. But here's the uncomfortable truth: you will be wrong sometimes. You will fail. You will look stupid. That's not a glitch in the system. That is the system. That's how we grow. And the sooner you accept that, the freer you become. Let's be honest. Most of us are addicted to thinking. It gives us a false sense of control. As long as you're thinking, you don't have to risk. You don't have to try. You don't have to move. You stay safe, wrapped in mental noise, while your real life sits untouched. Like a car with the engine running but parked in neutral. You read every book. You follow every podcast, you write lists of goals, you plan every step. But you don't take the leap. Why? Because more is seductive. It's like a drug. It keeps whispering, "You're not ready yet. You need more clarity, more preparation, more certainty." But what it never says is this: the more you chase more, the less you'll ever feel enough. You see, the goalpost keeps moving. First you wanted 1 client, then you wanted 5, then you wanted a business, then a brand, then a following, then passive income, then freedom, then you needed purpose, then impact, then legacy, and suddenly you're drowning in more with no idea who you are, what you're really chasing. This is the disease of more. It's not ambition. Ambition is good, but addiction to more, without reflection, without intention, destroys. It leaves you empty no matter how much you accomplish, because you're always chasing the next thing before you can enjoy what's in front of you. Overthinking is how the disease of more survives. It keeps you in your head. It tells you everything is incomplete, that there's always one more thing to consider, one more thing to research, one more thing to fix. So you delay, you hesitate, you procrastinate, you overanalyze. And in doing so, you slowly kill your momentum, your confidence, and eventually, your dreams. And the worst part, no one sees it. You look productive, you're thinking things through, you're being smart, you're figuring it out. But inside, you're stuck, trapped, tired, frustrated, Because your soul wasn't made to think endlessly. It was made to create, to feel, to risk, to act, to live. You don't grow by thinking harder. You grow by stepping into the unknown and figuring it out as you go. That's how life works. You don't learn to swim by reading about it. You don't become confident by imagining success. You don't write a book by planning chapters for years. You don't change your body by watching fitness videos. You don't build courage by reading quotes on courage. You do it by doing it. Mark Manson reminds us that happiness comes from solving problems, not avoiding them, not thinking about them, but facing them, engaging with them, and building our lives through them. And that process is messy. It's uncomfortable, but it's real, and it's worth it. So what are you waiting for? The perfect moment, the perfect answer, the perfect you? None of that's coming. What's coming is regret if you don't move, if you don't act, if you don't decide, if you don't accept that uncertainty is part of life and action is the only way to cut through it. Let the world think you're crazy. Let them say you're impulsive. Let them question your path. But whatever you do, don't stay in that prison. Don't let your mind be the thing that holds you back. Use your thoughts to guide your steps, not to replace them. Because the most dangerous thing in the world is a brilliant mind that never moves. We live in a culture that worships progress, growth, expansion, scaling. We treat more like the highest form of human achievement, more success, more productivity, more happiness, more experiences, more everything. But what if that hunger for more is the very thing destroying your peace? Mark Manson calls it the disease of more. And if you stop and look around, you'll realize it's everywhere. Athletes win championships and still feel empty. Entrepreneurs sell their startups and fall into depression. Influencers hit 1 million followers and start chasing 2. Ordinary people get the job, the house, the family, and still feel a quiet ache they can't explain. Why? Because somewhere along the line we confused progress with fulfillment. We started believing that if we just get the next thing, the next goal, the next win, the next version of ourselves, then we'll finally feel complete. But we don't, because the target keeps moving. It's like chasing a mirage in the desert. The closer you get, the further it seems. The truth is unsettling. You can't outrun emptiness by adding more. There comes a point where more information doesn't bring clarity, more tools don't bring action, more options don't bring freedom. They bring confusion, paralysis, noise, and eventually, despair. It's the illusion of progress. You feel like you're doing something, reading more, planning more, optimizing more, but really you're just circling the same question, am I enough yet? And that question can never be answered with achievements, because it's not a productivity problem, it's a soul problem. This is how the disease of more eats people alive. It whispers, just a little bit more. And you believe it. You believe that happiness is just one promotion away, one body transformation away, one perfect relationship away. But when you get there, nothing feels different for long. The joy fades, the novelty dies, and you're left with the same question, now what? You see, we've built a world where the finish line never exists. You're not allowed to stop, not allowed to say "'tis is enough," because enough sounds lazy, contentment sounds weak, slowing down sounds like failure. But here's the twist. Enough isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It takes real courage to stop chasing, to say no, to stand still, to realize that what you're really looking for, peace, purpose, fulfillment, won't come from the outside. It's not in the next goal, the next app, the next upgrade. It's already here, but you're too distracted by more to see it. Overthinking is how we stay stuck in that illusion. We tell ourselves we're making progress because we're always thinking, always researching, always planning. But activity isn't the same as action. Noise isn't the same as growth. Busyness isn't the same as direction. It's like being on a treadmill. You're moving, sweating, exhausted, but you haven't gone anywhere. And that's the trap. We're so afraid to miss out that we keep chasing everything. We're so afraid to be wrong that we keep questioning everything. We're so afraid to fail that we never fully commit to anything. So we stay in limbo, half in, half out, half dreaming, half doubting, Never fully alive, but never fully at peace. That's not progress. That's prison. Mark Manson said it clearly. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. The more you chase happiness, the more you signal to yourself that you don't have it. The more you seek validation, the more you confirm that you feel unworthy. The more you try to be perfect, the more you prove to yourself that you're flawed. It's a paradox, a loop, a sickness, and there's only one cure: acceptance. Acceptance of imperfection, acceptance of uncertainty, acceptance of who you are, right now. Not someday, not when you've achieved more, but now. And from that place of acceptance, you choose, you act, you create, not because you're trying to fill a void, but because you're expressing who you already are. You stop chasing life, and you start living it. And that, right there, is when things begin to change. When you stop thinking, what else do I need? And start asking, what can I do with what I have? When you stop believing the lie that more is always better, and start realizing that clarity, purpose, and peace come from less but better. Think of the most successful people you admire, not for their fame, but for their inner peace. What do they all have in common? They know when to stop. They know what to say no to. They've cut through the noise. They've chosen a few things and gone all in. Not perfectly, not without fear, but fully. And that's what sets them free. So, ask yourself today, what have I been chasing that never seems to satisfy me? What have I been overthinking for months instead of doing? What have I been postponing because I think I need to be more? First, the answers to those questions could change your life, because what's holding you back isn't the lack of resources, it's the abundance of distraction. It's not that you're not smart enough, it's that you're thinking so much you've talked yourself out of trying. It's not that you don't have options, it's that you've drowned yourself in so many you're scared to choose one. But remember this, you don't need more, you need less, but better. Less overthinking, less second-guessing, less comparing, less chasing, more deciding, more committing, more finishing, more starting, even before you're ready. Because the real progress in life doesn't come from having more ideas. It comes from following through on the ones that matter, not the shiny ones, not the trending ones, the ones that keep showing up in your heart again and again. That's where your peace is, not in the next achievement, but in choosing what matters and letting go of everything else. So today, stop chasing the illusion of more. Stop believing that more guarantees fulfillment. Start building something real with what you already have. And if you must chase anything, chase clarity, chase simplicity, chase depth, because that's where meaning lives. There's a moment every overthinker knows. You're lying in bed, the lights are off, the day is done, but your mind, it's just getting started. It replays the awkward moment from earlier. It wonders if you made the right decision. It calculates every possible outcome of a conversation you haven't even had. It digs up regrets, predicts disasters, fantasizes about a perfect future, and spirals into fear. You're not solving anything. You're stuck, trapped in thought, frozen in what-ifs and maybes. Welcome to the prison of overthinking. It's a quiet prison. No walls, no guards, just you and your mind. And it feels safe. It feels productive. Like you're preparing, like you're doing something. But deep down, you know the truth. You're hiding. You're avoiding decisions, avoiding risks, avoiding the emotional discomfort that comes with real life. Because real life is messy, uncertain, emotional. Thought, on the other hand, is clean, controlled. It gives the illusion of mastery. So you stay in your head, you analyze, you dissect, you run simulations, but you never move. And the cost? It's massive. Overthinking kills opportunities. Overthinking delays action. Overthinking erodes confidence. Overthinking turns potential into paralysis. You start doubting your choices, your path, even your worth. You hesitate. You stall. And in the end, the moment passes. The door closes. And you're left wondering, what if I'd just done it? Mark Manson says it best. Action isn't just the effect of motivation, it's also the cause of it. In other words, you don't need to feel ready to act. You act to feel ready. But overthinking tells the opposite story. It convinces you that if you just think a little longer, gather a little more data, wait for a little more clarity, you'll eventually feel certain. You won't. Certainty doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Confidence doesn't come from thinking. It comes from trying, failing, learning, and adapting. Overthinking is the mind's way of avoiding vulnerability. But vulnerability is the price of growth. You don't need more information. You don't need another angle. You need to start. You need to move, because the gap between thought and action is where dreams die. Think about this. How many brilliant people have lived quiet, average lives because they couldn't stop thinking long enough to begin? How many businesses were never launched? How many relationships were never explored? How many talents were never shared? All because someone got stuck in their head. Your mind is powerful, but it's not always your friend. Sometimes it's your jailer. And the bars? They're made of perfectionism, fear, and endless self-analysis. We think overthinking protects us, but really it isolates us. It keeps us from the joy of experience, from the thrill of creation, from the richness of being fully alive. Because life doesn't happen in your head. It happens in movement, in momentum, in moments. So how do you escape? You start small. You take one uncomfortable action, one brave step, one imperfect move. You embrace good enough instead of chasing perfect. You decide that clarity is something you build, not something you wait for. You remind yourself thinking isn't doing, planning isn't progress, preparing isn't producing. You learn to say, "Son, I don't know everything, but I'll find out. And not ready, but I'll try anyway. Might fail, but I'll learn something." This is scary, but it's more scary to stay stuck forever. And slowly the prison weakens. Every action you take is like a chisel against the walls of overthinking. Every risk you embrace is a crack in the cage. Every choice you make, especially when you don't feel 100% ready, is freedom. Eventually you stop needing to be sure. You stop needing perfect plans. You stop needing all the answers. Because you've learned the truth, life rewards action, not rumination. Ask yourself right now, what decision am I delaying by telling myself I need to think more? What opportunity am I missing while I analyze it to death? What would I do today if I wasn't trying to get it exactly right? These are not just reflection questions, these are keys. Each honest answer is a crack in the walls of your prison. And here's something powerful to remember. Overthinking doesn't mean you're broken. It means you care. It means you're thoughtful. But it also means you're scared. And the only way to move through fear is to move, not to analyze it, not to wait for it to disappear, but to act with it. Courage is not the absence of overthinking. It's the decision to move forward despite it. So today, choose movement over mastery. Choose progress over perfection. Choose real over ideal. Because nothing will ever be perfect. You'll never feel completely ready. But you don't need to be. You just need to begin. So far, we've looked at how the disease of more keeps us chasing, and how overthinking traps us in a mental prison. But the real question now is, how do you break free? Because knowing the problem isn't enough. Insight without action is just another flavor of overthinking. You don't need more theory, you need movement, direction, a way forward. And it starts with one powerful shift. Stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, what am I willing to struggle for? That's the question Mark Manson poses, and it's a life changer. Everyone wants the rewards. Everyone wants success, peace, fulfillment. But not everyone is willing to face the struggle that comes with it. You want a fit body. Then you must want the soreness, the sacrifice, the early mornings. You want meaningful relationships. Then you must want the vulnerability, the honesty, the emotional risks. You want a creative life. Then you must want the fear of failure, the blank pages, the silence of no applause. What you're willing to struggle for defines you, not your dreams, not your fantasies, your struggle. This is the first way out, choosing your pain consciously. Most people let pain choose them. They run from discomfort until it catches up in the form of regret, disappointment, and bitterness. But fulfilled people, they pick their pain. They say, yes, this path is hard, but it's worth it. They understand that pain with purpose is not suffering, it's growth. So instead of trying to eliminate discomfort, shift your focus. Find the discomfort that leads somewhere meaningful. Find the struggle that feels right for your soul, and commit to it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. The second key to breaking free: embrace constraints. We think freedom means having endless options, But real freedom is the opposite. Real freedom comes from choosing, committing, focusing. When you have too many choices, you freeze, you hesitate, you wonder if you're missing out. You become addicted to potential instead of building actual results. But when you narrow your focus, when you say, "This is my path," everything changes. Constraints don't trap you, they sharpen you, they force clarity, they cut away distractions, they allow depth, not just surface-level dabbling. Pick a direction. Stick to it longer than feels comfortable. Trust the process. Because mastery, fulfillment, progress, they don't come from chasing everything. They come from choosing one thing and going deep. Third, and maybe most important, redefine success. Most of us are chasing someone else's definition. Success equals money, followers, beauty, power, approval. But those definitions are external, and anything external can be taken from you. True success isn't about what you have, it's about how you feel about what you have. It's about living in alignment with your values, not your ego. It's about creating, not performing. It's about connection, not image. It's about fulfillment, not fame. Mark Manson often talks about values, because when your values are broken, everything else crumbles. Ask yourself, am I valuing things that actually make me happy, or just things that make me look good? Am I chasing goals that reflect my truth, or just copying what society rewards? Am I living for moments of depth, or moments of validation? When you redefine success on your terms, overthinking loses its grip. You stop needing to impress. You stop needing to optimize every decision. You simply live. You show up. You create. You contribute. And you let go of the rest. Now let's talk practically, because knowing all this still leaves one big obstacle, the fear. The fear of making the wrong choice. The fear of wasting time. The fear of being judged. The fear of regret. These fears are real, but they don't have to rule you. You see, fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. Fear is a compass, and often the path you fear the most is the one that matters most. You're afraid of starting that business because you know it could change everything. You're afraid of leaving that job because deep down you're done pretending. You're afraid of speaking your truth because once you do, there's no going back. That's good fear. That's honest fear. That's the fear that says this is real, so stop waiting for the fear to go away. It won't. Instead, start walking with it. Say, see, hear you, sati, see you, and I'm moving anyway. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. And every time you do that, even in the smallest way, you take back your power. You chip away at the prison walls. You escape the loop of overthinking. You become someone who chooses, not someone who waits. Now let's make this real. Here's how you start. 1. Set one constraint. Pick one thing to focus on this month. One project, one habit, one mission. Say no to everything else. 2. Take one small action every day. Doesn't matter how small. Send one email. Record one clip. Write one page. Momentum builds confidence. 3. Practice good enough. Perfection is the enemy of execution. Publish messy, launch early, show up imperfect, progress perfection. 4. Limit information intake. Pick one mentor, one book, one idea to follow. Stop confusing yourself with too many voices. 5. Reflect weekly. Ask, what worked, what didn't, what can I do better? Reflection brings clarity, not more thinking, intentional reflection. Do this for 30 days, not because it's easy, but because you're tired of waiting. You've overthought your way into exhaustion. Now it's time to overact your way into clarity. And here's the truth. You already have everything you need. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to get more degrees, more books, more advice. You need to get honest. You need to get moving. The only way out is forward. Not someday, not when it's perfect. Now. So here we are. You've learned how the disease of more fools you into endless chasing. You've seen how overthinking locks you in a mental cage. You've explored how to break free by choosing your pain, embracing constraints, and redefining success. Now the question becomes, what kind of life will you choose from here? Because life is always asking, will you react or will you respond? Will you be a consumer or a creator? Will you live in your head or live from your heart? This is where you must draw a line, not in sand, but in stone. A declaration to yourself: I am done waiting. I am done needing permission. I am done trying to be perfect before I start. I will live my values, not just think about them. I will choose action, even when I'm afraid. I will accept discomfort as part of my path. I will pursue depth over distraction. I will focus on what matters, not on everything. I will move, even if I stumble. I will begin. Because the truth is simple, growth is not a thought, it's a decision, 1,000 times a day, in small and big ways. And every time you choose courage over comfort, simplicity over excess, action over analysis, presence over performance, you are reclaiming your freedom. You are building a life from the inside out, a life rooted in clarity, not chaos, a life powered by meaning, not metrics, a life that feels right, even when it doesn't look perfect. And here's what you'll find along the way: you'll feel lighter, not because life got easier, but because your mind stopped carrying so much. You'll feel stronger, not because the fear disappeared, but because you stopped obeying it. You'll feel clearer, not because you figured everything out, but because you finally chose what to focus on. You'll realize that the old voice in your head, the one that always said more, 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 was never satisfied because it never stood still long enough to feel gratitude. And the voice that said, wait, 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 was really just afraid you'd discover how powerful you already are. So you stop listening, you stop reacting, you start living with intention, and suddenly things shift. You enjoy the ordinary again, a quiet morning, a finished task, a deep breath. You appreciate where you are, even as you work toward where you're going. You stop needing every moment to be epic. You stop needing every decision to be perfect. You stop needing every goal to be massive, because you realize peace is found in enough, freedom is found in action, joy is found in presence, purpose is found in choosing your struggle, and from that space you begin to live differently. You say no more often, because you've chosen your yes. You move quicker, because you've stopped overanalyzing. You stay longer, because you're no longer chasing highs. You give more, because you're not trying to prove anything. You love deeper, because you've stopped needing perfection. You're no longer ruled by the next thing. You're no longer paralyzed by your thoughts. You're no longer seduced by shiny illusions of more. You are here, you are grounded, you are free. That doesn't mean life gets easy. It won't. But now, you're strong enough to walk through it. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need the will to keep moving. And movement becomes your meditation. Creation becomes your clarity. Action becomes your identity. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this: you don't need more to be more. You just need to begin. Begin scared. Begin small. But begin. Because the life you're craving, the freedom, the clarity, the fulfillment, it's not out there. It's on the other side of overthinking. It's on the other side of chasing. It's on the other side of someday. And all it takes is one decision: to stop spinning, to stop waiting, to stop chasing the illusion of more, and to start creating a life that's actually yours. Final words: Mark Manson doesn't tell us to chase perfection. He tells us to embrace the uncomfortable, to face the raw truth, to take responsibility for our choices, to stop seeking constant highs and instead build a foundation that lasts. And when you do that, when you finally let go of the need for more and the prison of overthinking, you don't just find success, you find yourself. You stop being a slave to thought and desire. You start being a steward of purpose and presence. So go, not to find something outside of yourself, but to express what's already inside, because you're not here to overthink your way through life. You're here to live it.